What roofers don't know about manufacturer rep life?
Okay, so now I get my $5 million and I'm going to go retire in the Bahamas.
What questions did you hate roofers asking you when you were a rep?
You could get shingles a lot cheaper.
Is it so hard to produce more? Why manufacturers do not produce more shingles?
I hated selling shingles. I really hated selling shingles.
Home Depot versus ABC Supply.
They're coming from the same plant. They're being in the same place.
Did price go down?
Price went down. Yeah.
Price never go down.
If you are a roofing contractor today, you need to know where your lead sources are going to be, not just today, but 2, 3, 5 years from now. Yep.
You made me switch from Atlas to GAF and Owens Corning. What about Temco? What's your take on Temco?
You and I disagree with this one a lot. I have no problem with a 50-year warranty.
All right, guys, I have a very special treat for you today. Mike Goldenstein. So I know this guy for about 10 years. He was my GAF rep at the time in 2013 at Storm Group Roofing. So I started Storm Group Roofing in 2013. Right around first year in business, he came to my business, pitched me GAF. I was selling GAF and Owens Corning at the time. Actually, I was selling Atlas at the time.
Yep.
You made me switch from Atlas to GAF and Owens Corning. And then I think we did more Owens Corning than GAF. So we go way, way back. And
so just to make this clear, I want everybody to hear this, right? I mean, you've heard of selling sand in the desert or ice to Eskimos. I sold GAF to Dimitri.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Right? Chuck Toki, who? Adam Bensman, what? Becca Switch. Like, if we want to talk about all-time salesmen and their accomplishments, I sold GAF to Dimitri.
And not only that, over the years, I would also say this on record, even after I stopped selling GAF as a company, we switched more to Owens Corning. Me and Mike always been in contact, always been friends. I always tell everyone, he was always my favorite manufacturer sales rep. Because this guy, like, I remember, I never told you this, but one of the first years, it was like 14, 15, I asked you, who is the biggest player in town? And you told me, I don't know if you remember, you told me it was Lindus Construction. I've never heard of Lindus Construction. I'm like, Lindus who? He's like, Lindus Construction of Baldwin, Wisconsin. You told me they sold 250 roofs. It was like December. He said they have 250 roofs ready to go for spring, like pretty much for the winter. He's more than anyone. And they were selling GF HDZ. No, not HDZ.
They were,
Ultra HD.
Ultras, doing nothing but ultras, and didn't really participate in the insurance game. And here now you have Andy on the docket for Roofing Process Conference. Very exciting.
Super exciting.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember that conversation very well.
And next thing is history. I looked them up. You told me that they're using Rodney Webb. You're like, I don't know how they do it. They sell at this price, how they do it. So I was reverse engineer my competition, like what works? Because I don't know anything. In 2014, 2015, I did not know anything about the roofing business. So I have to reverse engineer other people's success. I'm like, all right, so number one company is using Rodney Webb. Who is this Rodney Webb guy? But he was Owens Corning. It was actually going against you.
Yeah.
So I started going to Owens Corning events. I follow Rodney Webb for the next 2 years everywhere. 7, 8 events per year. If he is in Ohio, I fly to Ohio. If he's in Colorado, I'm flying to, like, I glued to that guy.
Really?
I was soaking in his knowledge. I actually heard Andy Lindus speak when they were in Minneapolis. So Rodney Webb invited Andy, and he shared in the class how many years they've used it and all of that. I was sold. I was drinking that Kool-Aid for years. Still to this day, one of the best training I've got.
So I hadn't put that together. I thought that you had known who Rodney Webb was by then and had heard it. But interesting. Yeah. No, it's fun to have a 30,000-foot view of the industry and be able to pick out those people who are, truly top-notch companies. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier too. I'd never heard of Apple Roofing until I saw you do that on it. And Martin Pettigrew and Mark Godair were just fantastic people.
They're
what a
awesome
great
people.
company. never had heard of them, and here they're getting an award for the Contractor of the Year at the Roofing Process Conference. So it's fun to look over 10 years knowing you, and walking into this little office, and I'm just a territory manager, and and what has happened in the last 10 years has been quite a ride.
Industry has changed a lot. I have a lot of questions. Any limits what I cannot ask?
No, I don't.
All right, let's go. Describe the job of manufacturer rep.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, because there's very few of you and there's tons of roofers. Like, how many roofers in Minneapolis you've seen? Like, first of all, turnover, right? So every year, so many go out of business, so many come in, and very few manufacturer reps. I mean, JF reps, you have like 2-3 reps for this region, and we have like a couple thousand roofers. How does that work?
Man, that's a great question. And I, coming from a contractor, I was a contractor for 18 years and kind of felt like, my time is kind of up. And we might get into a couple of reasons why that was. But immediately what I realized with what JF was allowing me to do was to be that person that I needed when I was a contractor. And that's kind of where I focused my attention. So the stuff that, the 2008 storm, for example, is still the biggest storm I've ever seen in the Twin City Metro. And I was a contractor at the time. And it was the most roofing I'd ever done in a year, and the least amount of money that I'd ever done in a year. And it's because I just didn't understand storm. I didn't understand the escalating prices.
I want you to repeat that, because there's so many people chasing the volume these days, chasing the dollars. What do you mean you made the most amount of work and least amount of money?
So you guys think price increases have been crazy over the last 3 years? January 1st of 2008, I was spending $42 a square for a square of Timberline HD. By January of the next year, 1 year later, I was at 94.
If you like Roofing Insights podcast and you are a player in the industry, maybe you have interesting takes on trending topics, want to share your story, reach out. I'm going to put my links below. You can go to dmitrylepinski.com or roofinginsights.com. Please go fill up a contact form, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. We do not charge for our podcast. If you come to us, it's absolutely free. We pretty much have open studio policy. We will interview absolutely anyone, especially if it's interesting conversation. Maybe you want to interview myself and you want to come here. I'm open for any collaboration. If we come to you, we also don't charge for the podcast on the go. We only ask to cover our travel expenses. So if you want to be part of Roofing Insights family, do podcasts together, reach out via dmitrylepinski.com or roofinginsights.com.
It went from $42 to $94 a square.
Why so much? Because in 2013-14, I was paying like in 70s.
Right? Yeah. So it's absolutely true.
Did price go down?
Price went down. Yeah.
Price never go down.
I
call BS on it. Guys, comment below if you ever seen the price and shingles to go down.
So again,
but it was before my time, so I wouldn't know what happened in 2000.
Yeah. So I mean, I was a manufacturer rep from 2010 to 2022, and there was a gradual and steady decrease pretty much the entire time. Decrease. Yeah.
What do you mean decrease?
Decrease. Look at your prices. I mean, it was pretty much right.
I mean, from 2013 to 2023, I did not see no decreases.
I mean, it was very steady. I mean, if it was decrease, it was just a couple dollars at a time. But I'm just letting you know.
But the last 3 years, it was only.
Oh, it's been crazy, right? It's been crazy, and it was crazy in 2008. And it was increase after increase. And one of the things that's really, I mean, I think one of the things that you miss as a contractor, like we think in terms of like these massive trucks of stuff that they're taking to Walmart, right? And if there's a price increase, you spread it out over millions of dollars, whatever's in that truck, everything takes a little bit. If you've got a truck of shingles, you only have about 200 squares on that truck that like, if it's a $10 a square, can be just the shipping costs from one to another. If you have storms, like one of the things, when it's about the time it got to 2017, 2018, 2019, the Twin Cities was very unique in that there was a lot of volume here during that time. And we had open plant that wasn't selling a ton or had some left over, and we were shipping them into town. Well, that was to the tune of $12, $15, $18 a square that was costing to provide shingles to the Twin Cities. and not a single contractor that I know of took a $18 a square increase. So somebody takes that hit. So I think one of the people lose the fact that you don't have a lot of squares to divide price increases. So if there was another, I got to remember what year it was. It had to be like 20 when the federal changes mandates for trucking, and everything was electronically logged, and so there was no more fudging any books, any kind of. I mean, the price of trucking skyrocketed. And, you know, $1,200 on a single truck more for the exact same truck. Well, you got to divide that by the number of squares on that truck. Like, you're talking $10, $15, $20 a square. What I'm saying is, with the volumes that you have, manufacturers and distributors, yes, they can make a lot of money a little bit at a time, but they can lose money very, very quickly because of the amount of volume and those price increases, the price fluctuations that they're experiencing is divided by a very small number comparative to most of the other industries.
How did you lose money? Let's get back to you did the most amount of work and you made the least amount of money.
So it was storms, right? And so and it came right down my street. And so I was mostly an installer. I wasn't just the fancy big trucks, big sales team. I did a lot of my own installs. And the Xactimate again was at that time. Do you even want to guess what was an average Xactimate in 2008 during that storm? Xactimate.
I wasn't
price per square.
I started the roofing business in 2013.
Yeah,
so it was before my time.
So I remember during that storm we hit $300 a square. So that was the first time in my life that I'd seen $300 a square on an estimate. And so
it's not bad if you paying only $42 for shingles.
That was the end of the year, though.
Oh, okay.
The beginning of the year, we were closer to $225, $250, something like that.
I want to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of this podcast is CSS, Contractor Supplement Solutions. We absolutely love this company. We visited them a couple years ago and ever since been promoting them. I have never received any complaints about this company, but I have seen plenty of complaints about other supplements companies in the space. So if you are in insurance game and you cannot afford full-time supplementer, maybe you don't know how to work with Xactimate or how to work with insurance companies, CSS is perfect solution. I'm gonna put my recommendation link in description below. Tell them that Dmitry have sent you. You will absolutely enjoy the team. Most claims getting settled within 21 days, one of the fastest turnaround in insurance space. It's getting harder and harder to work with insurance companies, and you need solid partner who will help you on that journey. I highly recommend CSS. Their link is in description. If you're not working with a supplement company yet and you are in insurance game, you are leaving money on the table, guaranteed. Get the most out of those claims as possible. Don't let insurance companies short on you. CSS is our recommendation.
My phone is in my pocket. Sorry. Nobody ever calls me anymore. That was the other thing about being you asked about what it's like to be a manufacturer rep. There was a couple of things that I would always say joking around, but it's mostly true. If I wasn't getting screamed at by 11 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't doing my job. Like somebody was having a bad day and they take it out on you. The other thing is, an iPhone, typical iPhone would, they'll show you about your last 100 phone calls before they start dropping off and you can't see who called you before then. That would happen about 1 o'clock in the afternoon that I couldn't see who called me in the morning. So it's a grind. Like it is a long grind, but something that I always say, I'd rather be busy than bored, and I loved it. I was absolutely addicted to it and enjoyed my time there. So let's go back to pricing. How do you lose money? And again, I didn't necessarily lose money. But it was
you made less.
I made a lot less, and a lot of it is because I didn't understand Xactimate. I didn't even really understand the storm industry. So, and I also had that thing that I wasn't a good business person. When you had Joe Hoffman on here, and you asked the question, "Can anybody start a company?" and he said, "Well, anybody can, but not everybody should." But what was the one thing that he said? If you're going to be a business owner, what do you need to learn? Accounting. And I was not an accountant. I'm a sales guy, right? I can outsell the books, and you realize that you just can't, right? And especially as the price increases were going north quickly, I wasn't keeping track. I know nobody, but see, you didn't have Roofing Process Conference. You didn't have Roofing Insights. You didn't have. I mean, say what you want about Win the Storm. You didn't have all of these places. You didn't have the social media. You didn't have these places to go to get this information to help.
Nobody was teaching or sharing.
Right. And I mean, we were all competing, right? And you're all getting.
What would you do different if you would start business now? And have you ever considered going back in the business?
Oh, if I knew then what I know now, because you have to, I mean, it was 1992 when I got in this industry. Just graduated from high school and got in it. So by the time I joined GAF, my companies, I'd been building this company for 18 years. And, but I wasn't building a company, right? I was making a living.
You had a full-time job?
I had a full-time job, supported my family, really enjoyed it and loved the industry. But yeah, I'm watching these massive roll-ups, all this private equity money coming in and purchasing with these gigantic sums of money, companies that are a fraction of the age that mine would have been by now. So yeah, I think about it.
But a lot of it is not going through. There are so many people, you know, getting delusional, I would say, because these companies come to everyone. Like, we want to buy your company. And the moment that happens, the ego of that owner is like, oh, I have business. Someone wants my business. But what I see on the back end is not many people today have sellable business. And not many going through, because by the time you do your due diligence, by the time books are open and you see, now is like, you know, they might offer you $5 million, but it's all in details. If I say, well, Mike, I'll give you $5 million, you're like, okay, I'll do it. But then I'll say, well, I'll pay you in 5 years. You still have to be part of the business, and you have to maintain profitable and not lose your team or whatever. So now a deal is changing. So I'm still giving you $5 million, but details, very important, changed.
Details. And what are you getting for the $5 million? We have so many people that are like, okay, so now I get my $5 million and I'm going to go retire in the Bahamas. And that's not, I mean, no. you gotta figure out what you're actually doing. Other ones that, again, this is some of the stuff that, man, I don't know that people are really looking closely, but if you are part, let's say you're a top salesperson at a company, and suddenly the boss just sells and drives up in a Lamborghini, and you're sitting there going, wait a second, I've helped create this, or the production guy, I created this thing.
Happens every day now,
and now you get to buy this. This fleet of sports cars. You have to be really, really careful when you're going through this. And it's exciting to see. I'm really excited to see that the roofing industry is being identified and recognized for the force that it is. And it's very exciting. And you gotta understand, it is being identified, and there is more tech and more money being spent on technology and roll-ups and all the stuff, this money that is coming from outside of the industry getting poured into it right now. It will accelerate the evolution quickly.
100%. So what was the thing you hated as a sales rep? Like, what's the least, what roofers don't know about manufacturer rep life?
You really want to answer this? People who are brand new in the industry and suddenly become experts and think that they know everything. And there are so many little tidbits that I even read even today. And like, gosh, so we borrow things from other industries and think that it's a thing in roofing. And I'm telling you right now,
Give me an example.
I've never said this publicly because I know I'm going to get scourged, right? Lot numbers. Everybody thinks, well, you got to have the same lot number, because that lot, if it was made 2 weeks ago and it's made now, they're not going to match. And that's why you don't buy from the box stores, because they mix up the lot. That's a complete fallacy. Like, there are no lot numbers like that. That's borrowed from the paint industry. When you're mixing a gallon of paint at the box store, and before you ever get your second paint, you put them together to keep those lot numbers. It's non-existent in the roofing industry, but it's borrowed. So,
but sometimes I think where that's common, roofers have seen different badges, so where like one line looks a little bit different.
Yeah, yep, and it happens fairly regularly, and it's happening more and more because of the quality of the asphalt that the manufacturers are doing. So you have to think that the amount of asphalt that's available to all industries, not just roofing, all industries, continues to go down and down and down as the refining process takes more and more and more of the good stuff and leaves, like, we just want the crap left over, right? And then there's 7 different grades of that, right? And so you need to have the top of the line asphalt that comes out of a barrel of oil. But if that continues to go down and down and down, and then so there's a staining index that happens in asphalt. And the ones that are higher staining, and especially black, right? The charcoals of the world, when you put them on there, especially if it's the middle of summer and there's double or triple stacked because the distributor doesn't have the room, and that weight is being pressed and the oil's from the back of one shingle getting pressed on the other. I mean, you can get some pretty gnarly looking roofs, and sometimes it just doesn't go away for a few weeks. However, what nobody ever talks about either is that, shingles from different plants can have different base granules. So you put those next together and it can look different. Or even the speed at which the line runs through the plant can put granules at a different angle.
But you contradict yourself because you say that different lots don't make sense. Like it's borrowed from like painting. But this is exactly what roofers referring to. Different lots, different speeds, different places.
Okay, so I was talking specifically though the colors of the granule. I think the impression out there is, oh, these granules were coming through the plant on this day. These granules are coming from a different train car being dumped, and that's a different color, and it leads to a different color. Manufacturers. I know the GAF stuff a lot, but they haven't had a do not mix since 2008. So for the last 15 years. Generally speaking, again, this is practically speaking, you would never do this, but generally speaking, a shingle that's produced and installed today should match ones that were made January of 2008.
So suppliers reps sell on a price. How does manufacturers rep sell?
So I'll answer that one this way too. I hated selling shingles. I really hated selling shingles. And I don't think I ever sold you shingles, right? So what did I do? I would walk in and we talk business, right? I think you and I spent more time, like those first couple of years, probably spent more time with you than most other contractors, just because it didn't matter if it was 5 a.m. or midnight. We knew we were working, and so creating a business, and some of the things that we were talking about. I know you were really wanting to scale. You wanted to grow. You wanted to grow in the right way. And so we had those conversations all the time, and then you started bringing out the drones, and you started talking about YouTube, and you started about talking commerce and YouTube. I barely know what YouTube is at that time. This is 2013. It's talking business, helping contractors build their businesses. Oh, by the way, I don't want you to have any problems with my product. So I want you to understand warranties. I want you to understand what it takes for a shingle to last. What is the average?
18 years.
18 years. That's what the state of Minnesota actually puts it in writing.
Yep.
Even a shingle that's installed correctly with proper ventilation, you might get 20 years out of it, I think is what they say. So let's say we use but we want you to understand the business, how to sell it, what the features and benefits, why this one's better than that one. But as far as selling an actual shingle and going, hey, my shingle is best, that doesn't keep you in business. So as a manufacturer rep, I was passionate about my contractors being successful long term.
What sales rep cannot tell a roofer?
Oh man, you can get in trouble really quickly if you start making promises that you have no authority to make. But again, I think most of it. So here's an interesting one. So we did these personality tests shortly before I left GAF. It was personality tests, and they did it in the birds one. What is it? The eagle and and the dove and parrot and owl.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are 4, right? And if you didn't know, I'm a parrot. So I'm just like something. I got a little bit of eagle in me too. But which one would you guess? Which bird has the vast majority? Like 80% of manufacturing reps are a specific bird. Which one is it?
I have no idea.
It's the dove.
Dove, really? Why?
Which is very dangerous. You think about this, because what is a dove? It's a peacemaker. They just want the problem to go away.
Yep.
And they will do anything to make the problem go away. That's where manufacturer reps, even distributor reps, sometimes can get in trouble, because if you're trying to make peace without just telling the truth, right? Sorry, I keep hitting this. I need to sit nicely. Need to tell the truth. Have the hard conversations. Stop beating around the bush. It might hurt, but it's the right thing to do. That's the hardest thing for a manufacturer rep to be, because so many of them have the personality of the dove, just wants to make peace.
I agree with it. You know what I always told my reps? Actually, people who wanted to grow as a reps, sometimes they will be like newer guys and stuff. And my number one advice to sales reps always been is, you guys seen so many businesses. You see successful businesses, you see losers. You see people who like red flags all over the business. And you have authority, like you think you don't, but you do have authority to make that comment, and no one does it because they're afraid. If I would be a sales rep, I would not be afraid, and I know it sounds like biased, but I would come in and say, dude, your logo sucks. Change the name of your business if you want to be successful, because you guys see the real problem. You see why Linda's Construction is killing it. You see why, companies don't have sales system or whatever. You can recommend to go to the event or to do, and so many reps are afraid to give real advice, or speak about obvious, like, hey, this is what's killing your business. Or like, even like if you see the person who cannot delegate, just, would laugh. It doesn't have to be like criticizing them and say, hey, you're burning out. I highly recommend start delegating. Like little tips, but it will help that person be more successful and do more business with you. But as a result, when you are quiet, when you're not talking about the real problem and only doing your part, like selling your stuff, that's my advice.
Yeah, so I just watched a movie. I don't know if you've seen Founder, the Ray Kroc story.
One of the favorite movies.
Oh, there were so many things. I literally just watched it over the weekend. I'm like, this is fantastic. Look at what happens though, right? And because to your point, and what we were just talking about is, not every owner probably is going to be able to scale a company. They don't have that personality. They don't have that ability to make those hard decisions and really have that vision. So if you look specifically at McDonald's, what was the genius? Who revolutionized the industry? Was it Ray Kroc, or was it the McDonald's brothers? Remember, the McDonald's brothers are the ones that figured out there's something better. There is a demand that is going to be there if we are more efficient, more effective, and quicker at what we do and better at what we do. And they revolutionized the industry. And do you remember that moment that they literally, I'm watching this movie and seeing that moment where they have effectively revolutionized the industry, and guess what's the first thing that happened? Their customers drove into the yard. They couldn't get them to get out of their car. They almost went bankrupt, right? Now, they ended up making it. So then, okay, so now you've got these guys that are revolutionary. They created this business. They finally convinced people to get out of their
blind
car.
Spot.
Yeah, they finally, right? They got through that. But would we have known McDonald's for what it was without Ray Kroc? And what an ass. At least in the movie, that's how he's portrayed, right? And I know I would never be a Ray Kroc. I would not. I'm more the McDonald's guy. I'm the guy that looks at all the processes. I want to dissect this. I want to do the right things for the right reasons. I want to see the things that people don't see. I'm not the scaling guy.
My favorite part of that movie is at the end when they already done the deal, signed the paperwork, right? In the bathroom scene, the guy was like, I have a question for you. Like, why, you've seen it all. Why didn't you do it? And he said, Ray Kroc, it doesn't sound American.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Do you know why I called my company Storm Group? When I was I was in flooring business before, 2012, the same reason. And he said, in that movie, he said, McDonald's, it sounds American, sounds big. Nobody wants to do business with a Kroc. Like, he has
the Kroc burger. Who wants to eat a Kroc burger?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Name is everything, and I believe in it. And early on, like when I was in 2012, picking the name for the company, I Googled local companies in Minnesota, like a Minneapolis roofing company, and I went to every website, Seller Roofing, all the big guys, Kaufman's, all of them. They all have language about storm damage. I did not know what storm damage is. I did not know how insurance claims, anything. So I installed siding here in 2007. Then I moved to Atlanta. And I knew that everybody works with insurance, but I did not know what that is. And every website, every roofing company in Minneapolis was trying to convince their homeowners that they're storm damage experts. Storm damage experts. So I'm like, okay. And I put that word aside, like a storm is going to be in my name. Storm, because I wanted to dominate Google search. I wanted people, if they're Googling storm damage expert, I want to have it in my roofing company. And then out of all the words out there, I wanted to have group, because I knew I'm a one-man show, but I wanted to sound bigger. Nobody's going to do business with Dmitry Lipinski, but when it's a group, like Storm Group, it sounds big. And Storm Group Roofing sounds like, hey, there's a group of guys. There's a group, like it's a company.
Right.
And first and second year, people were asking me if it's a franchise. Who owns Storm Group Roofing? Because I took my name out of it. I did not want Dmitry to be in it, but I want 2 searches. If you type in Minneapolis Roofing Company, Storm Group Roofing shows up. You know, it's roofing in the name, storm in the name. And then if you type in storm damage and Storm Group Roofing comes up, it just clicks. And so many people were, calling us like, hey, I have insurance claim. Do you do it? And first 2 years, I was a retail company. I did not actually do it. After 2 years, I hired Chris, who was doing my supplements. And then we have that big storm. And yeah,
the 2013 storm was massive. There's a 2017 storm.
17
was crazy. Yeah,
it was big.
Yep.
Minneapolis is a great market.
And it's fun to if you think about being a worker, somebody that wants to go work, you want to work with somebody that's a storm group, because you're part of the group. It's not, it's more of a collaborative, and it's probably a little bit easier to create a culture when you're understanding that it's all of us together. It's going to be a group.
Last night I rewatched again Social Network, another greatest movie of all times for me. And remember Dustin. Timberlake?
Yeah, Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
When they had the first meeting, the same thing. He said that you're not $1 million company, think about billion. And he walks away, he comes back, oh, by the way, dropped it there.
Yeah.
Like it's a Facebook, it's not the Facebook.
Yeah. People forget. It used to be the Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's
but
now Facebook.
But again, it's the little things.
And that's the stuff that drives me crazy. Like, I would just fly right over that. That's, to me, and this is one of my favorite conversations to have, is the difference between sales and marketing. And marketers pay attention to that stuff. Yeah. Salesmen are like, I don't care. Just tell me what the name is and I'm going to go sell it. You got that motor that's always running, and,
It's details. I was listening to Robert Herjavec and Grant Cardone conversation about what's first, marketing or sales. And to me, the answer is marketing, because I can put you in many, many rooms and you will sell. But to get in those rooms, you need to brand yourself and you need to be great at marketing. Marketing puts you in a room. You can't get in the room selling if you don't have. It's crazy.
See, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, man, I enjoy our marketing, and if you follow any of my social media stuff, like half the time I'm trolling our marketing department at Roofle. We have a great relationship, but there is a tension between sales and marketing that I really, really enjoy. But at the same time, I know that as a salesperson, I am nothing without our marketing department.
100%.
But I also like to poke back a little bit and go, you guys are nothing without the sales team too. Agreed. And if I do have, I do have a few regrets of my time at GAF. But one of my biggest regrets was I finally was in a place in my last year to be able to work with both. I was on the sales team, but I worked a lot with the marketing department, and I loved it because there is, and especially as the corporations get bigger and bigger and bigger, there is that tension can grow a lot between the sales and marketing. And I got to work in both, put my foot in both worlds, and I really, really enjoyed
GAF
that.
always was the marketing company. And I remember when I started YouTube, GAF had the biggest YouTube channel at that time. I remember I had 1,000 subs, Storm Group Roofing had. And GAF had, first it was 3,000, then I started Roofing Insights. GAF had 6,000 subs when I started Roofing Insights, and I made it a goal. I always do it to myself. Like when I moved to Minneapolis, I joined Angie's List. Seller Roofing, $50 million company, had 250 reviews on Angie's List. And I told myself, I told my team, I told everyone, they going down, we're going up. 2 years later, we have 360 reviews, they have 350. Took me 2 years to bypass them on Angels List by reviews. And then we have like 700, they have more reviews than anyone. But I made it a goal. And the same happened to YouTube. I'm like, who is the biggest YouTube channel? It was GAF. I'm like, they have nothing on me. I'm gonna, like, they're gonna go down. I'm gonna bypass them. It took me like 2 years, and I bypassed by views, by subscribers, but it was hard competition. And the same with the James Hardy, the same with all. I remember, you're gonna love this story. So, James Hardy, they've been fighting online with, well, LP Smart Site was trashing James Hardy for many, many years. Like every home show, they have this stupid hammer test.
I remember the hammer test,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not right. This is not fair. But James Hardy would never reply. So these big corporations, they don't pick fight. Like I love a rivalry in marketing, like BMW versus Mercedes-Benz, like billboard wars, Coke versus Pepsi.
Yeah.
Love those. But in our industry, they don't do that. Sometimes, like I've seen a little bit malarkey in GEF. Sometimes it does happen, but this industry is selling to each other. You guys are clients of each other.
That's true. That's true. I think contractors would be amazed at how much
I know.
they buy from each other. Yeah.
So anyway, I go. So I watch this LP Smart Site commercials. I'm like, this is BS. I'm gonna redo this test, and I'm gonna actually prove that James Hardy is better. So I did the same test, published it. Anyway, the video goes viral. James Hardy versus LP Smart Site. I redid their most famous test, but I put the plywood behind it. And I say, hey, LP, I'm calling you out. You're #1 producer of OSB. In most markets, you have OSB and then you install James Hardy. It's almost like ranking carpet or hardwood floors without subfloor. It's not real life scenario. And if you put subfloor, it will perform different, right? How it's supposed to be. So I did the same test. And within 3 days, I have marketing director of James Hardy in my office. So he called me up, said, Dmitry, can we have a meeting? I'm like, sure. So he flies in from Chicago, from headquarters with 2 people. Said, you embarrassed like my entire marketing team. We should have done that video 6 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I mean, I didn't know which way you were going to go with that one. But yeah.
So because I defended James Hardy.
Yeah.
I'm a James Hardy fan as a siding installer. And he said, like, anything we can do for you. They invited me to headquarters of James Hardy. All their sales reps were tweeting it, sharing it. To this day, James Hardy always, their reps, it's the greatest tool in their arsenal. Third-party validation, this contractor, but they did not do it. And I love that stuff.
So my favorite one that I ever saw from GAF, and I don't think anybody ever really looked at it this way, but I totally saw this as 100% troll. So back in the days when everybody started moving over to these reinforced nail lines, again, I can get really nerdy really quick. I'll go back and forth. Really,
no
right?
nails?
No nails.
Yeah, I've seen it in
right?
Florida.
Yeah, so I was talking to a guy I met, and he called himself actually Dr. Wind. He's a doctorate. He's a wind engineer. I believe it's Texas Tech. Fantastic, very, very brilliant guy.
I think I interviewed him.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Phelps.
Yeah.
Fantastic human being. Just super engaging. And we were talking about these reinforced nail lines. He's like, yeah, way to reinforce the least important part of the shingle. And like his whole thing is wind. And so when that video came out, I was sitting there going, I can't believe they just did that, because
I remember that video.
Everybody's talking about how much better, these reinforced. Now, if you want to go by, the OC Sure Nail, because it doesn't, nails don't blow through. That's a real thing. I love it for that. I also love that, manufacturers are continuing to try to make their products better. Fantastic. But we also can't just look at it and go, that is a homeowner sales pitch. That's not an actual thing. And it does happen. But that was my favorite thing that ever came from GAF, as kind of trolling the competition, was that video with no nails on the entire roof.
What questions did you hate roofers asking you when you were a rep?
I hate asking. I mean, the lot number, the whole confusion with the lot numbers is weird. And even today, so I started a Facebook group. That's what always been my passion is once I started realizing back in 2012 that building code was actually catering itself to legally sheltering the building departments. And the way they were doing that was saying the building departments no longer have the final seat to authority, but they're sticking manufacturers in there. So now they're just saying whatever the manufacturer says, that's what we say. And just the lack of knowledge that contractors have of simple building codes and installation instructions. And the way that and I'm going to be very specific about the question that I hate the most. And I actually texted this to John Senick once, because when we started working together on some of his trainings, I texted him one time. I said, I know you just gave me the easy button, but do you have an easier than easy button? They're so lazy. They just want one. Just give me the document so that I get this paid. And I know they don't even understand how the system goes together. They don't even know what they're asking, but they're asking for that easy button. And I think that's what I don't mind. I think that's kind of the role that I have chosen to play in the roofing industry is to be that person that I know the documents. I know the text, that I know how it goes together. I know what, something that a repair that's being told contractor should do that's going to violate code. So I don't mind laying that out. But when they keep coming back and going, I don't know if I really understand. Do you have? It's got to be one document, right? I just give it to me a document so I can give it to the adjuster. I'm like, it doesn't exist. It doesn't work that way. So that gets annoying.
Agreed. Let's get back really quick to producing shingles. I know the business model of manufacturers are freaking amazing because you guys sell, unlike roofers, you sell everything right away. I think it's pretty much you get paid when you produce. Like when you deliver to Beacon, you deliver to ABC Supply, it gets sold right away. I remember I was talking to someone very big in the industry, and he's like, I don't understand why OC or GF does not produce more shingles because they sell it all. Is it so hard to produce more? Why manufacturers do not produce more shingles? Because you sell it all. Is it supply and demand? You don't have raw materials?
So there's a lot of different directions you can go with that. But frankly, especially over the last few years, they have been running every plant as fast as they can go. So there's other things that
why can't they build? If that's the case, why they can build more plants?
Well, it takes a long time to build a plant, and the payback on that plant takes decades, and it's hard to find people to work those plants. That's really what happened in COVID too. I mean, you had plants that were not running to capacity because they couldn't staff the plants. But
so it's labor shortage,
labor shortages, raw material shortages at certain times, like glass mat. I mean, you got to have the glass mat to go with the asphalt coming in, and you have to have the granular source, and each one of those are independent of each other, and they have nothing to do with each other. And if one of them runs out, you're at a standstill. So a lot of that stuff has been happening, certainly post-COVID. Demand, as you got into 2011, 12, 13, demand was very, very soft. And that was where one of the things that kills both manufacturers and distributors is having inventory on the ground and just sitting there. If it's unsold, the carrying costs, that's what a lot of contractors don't understand, how expensive that really is. And so you do try to pace yourself to keep the lots empty because carrying costs are a real thing, both distribution and with manufacturing. And that's kind of what happened in 20. That's what started this COVID thing. I don't know if you remember. And I'll tell you this story. And hats off to our vice president at the time. So everything was being shut down. This was March. We had no orders in the system. Every order had been canceled. We were going into all of the, nobody knew.
We're talking about 2020?
2020, yeah. And we didn't know if we were going to lose, 1 out of 10 people in the country were going to die of COVID. We just didn't know anything. Everything was kind of ground to a complete halt. Our plant was only closed for maybe a matter of weeks, where I know a lot of our competitors were closed for months because they're like, there's no orders. We're not going to make material. And I remember the call that our AVP jumped on and says, we're opening this up. We are going full speed. We are going to hit plan by June. And I was looking at it we have 0 orders in the system. 0. And we were so far off plan because we hadn't sold anything. He said, we're going to make a plan by June. We were only a couple percentages off. But those months that our competition was completely shut down, killed them. They never did. I mean, it took years for them to catch up. The reason is this, and I've used the analogy of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Like when you turn on the faucet, you're turning on a garden hose and it's filling. It's not like suddenly you got a fire hose you can pull out and make up ground. Like the plant moves the speed the plant moves. So if you fall behind, it's really hard to catch up. And if you're ahead, you can back off. But if you get those inventory levels too high, those carrying costs are going to kill you. So that's why you probably see, like, you might get frustrated because lack of, inventory or lack of ability to fill orders. But over the last few years, man, I think pretty much every plant has done everything they can to go as fast as they can to help fill that demand.
I know you respect competition. I know you always, I've never heard you talk negatively about CertainTeed or Owens Corning, but my question is, what about Temco? What's your take on Temco? What do you think their problem is?
It's expensive to compete. It really is. And let me put it this way, because what we try to do, and again, it's just branding, right? When you have a name and then you start giving attributes, like personal attributes to a name, it really doesn't exist. You have to actually parse down to, what about the plant manager? Who's the engineers? Who's that? Like, what's that talent pool that they're drawing from? And then who's actually making those decisions saying, we can't do it that way, we have to do it this way. So I just don't know. I mean, they made they were really a hard competitor early on in my days as a TM here in Minneapolis, because they owned the new construction business. And it was so hard for us to get into there. And because they had created this presence that they were going to sell at this price and make this amount of volume, and we couldn't unseat them at all.
How big Temco on the as far as market share? I know they do a lot of builders grade, but how big are they?
Well, they only have a couple of plants, right?
Yep.
And so I think I just don't know a ton about them, but I'll tell you this: when they went after the builder business, it's steady, it's year round, it's predictable. And so it really fit a lot of things that they were looking for, I think, in this market until they ran out of product. And that's when we started being able to grow our market share again with that volume. But let's talk about the percentages of every shingle that's made in the United States. Where does it go? How many of those percentage-wise goes to new construction in a typical year? So if there's 130 million squares of shingles sold in a particular year, what percentage of that is going to new construction?
I thought it was like 150 million.
Recently, it's been bumped up to 150, 160, but like all the plants running as all out, I mean, you're hitting
million?
the bottom. I mean, 150, 160 million is about as much as they can do.
How much? I don't know those numbers.
It's about 10%, 12%.
What
goes to the new construction?
Builders, okay.
So even if you own that space, you're owning your portion of about 10 or 12%, generally speaking. I mean, there are some years that I think it kind of started pushing to 15%. So let me talk about my legacy at GAF. What I really got my passions going, that I loved my job. And it's with the storm restoration, because we kind of knew in the 2010, 11, 12, 13 even, one of the things when our feet were held to the fire was when we lost market share, our excuse was, well, because there was a storm. Because we knew we lost market share in storm because we didn't sell to storm guys. And I'm saying we as GAF, and particularly this was kind of a storm market. So let me tell you that, going back to that, 130 million, 10 to 15 at the most goes to new construction. We used to get a chart every single year as to what percentage goes to what. How do you think GAF viewed the rest of those shingles, the rest of the percentages? So you have basically 85% of the market left. New construction, storm, retail.
So what's the split between storm and retail?
The report that I got every single year for the first 10 years that I was at GAF was storm was 3%.
3%.
3%. And I was looking at that number and like, I'm suspicious of that number. This is like 2012, 2013. I was suspicious of that
What is it
number.
now?
So shortly before I left, we finally got an email that came out. And again, I was enjoying this, being kind of in the both worlds. And one of the hardest the groups to really convince was marketing side. And I got a document out that said they put it at 38%.
38. So
Think about that, though. You've got a $6 billion company that does this much volume, that believes, and it's creating. So if you look at the Master League program,
that's JF market share. So JF sells 38% storm.
No, they acknowledge that of the 130 million squares that are being produced by all manufacturers,
retail is still bigger.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that's true. I still think 38 might be a little bit low, but I think I don't know that's more than 45.
Sure.
So
and that's one thing. Like so many roofers, and guys, comment below if you disagree. So many roofers. I heard that Owens Corning have very similar. Dan Young told me he went on OC, and then they share their number. And retail is bigger. Everybody's chasing storms.
Everybody's chasing storms.
But retail storm chasing for me has always been a bonus, if you will.
Yeah.
But the retail is bigger.
Yep. Yep. And you look at these private equity companies that are purchasing companies, they're looking at your retail business, not really your storm business.
It really depends. So I talked to like 10 equity firms, and some of them looking for storms, storm companies. Some of them, they're all different. Some of them want to get commercial space.
Yeah. So that was, so just going back to that, that's one of the things that I felt like that was my labor of love as a manufacturer rep, and given the keys to the castle, if you will, which is one of the things I loved working with GAF, is that they really did give you a lot of autonomy to make your own decisions, build your company. They're like, you're part of the company, you're building the company. And so I got to immerse myself into storm restoration, but that was what I was trying to convince the world, that we need more attention to storm restoration because it's bigger than 3%. And by the end of my my time there, I saw in writing they were at 38%. I'm like, I'm excited. What I did might have mattered.
Love it. What's your take? You probably have seen, so we've done it with the ICO, with the OC, with the TEMCO, the test at the at the expo when they fail in their own test. OC happened to fail at their test, and then next year ask everybody like no filming, and then TEMCO now failed, and all the TJs, all the influencers coming in, and they're like, get out of here.
Oh my gosh, influencers. Let's talk about those. No,
seems like they're starting declaring a war on publicity in their own game.
It is, and you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket, right? And it needs to work. It's just that, like, it's kind of like if you're an engineer and you've built a building, you've put the blueprints on, and you take the blueprints out to the job site. Does it actually work? Does it actually perform? And that's the risk that you take. And especially with with video cameras and everything, like, you can be embarrassed. And it might have been as simple as, the nail was a little crooked, and so it gave it a little cut, and ripped right through. You just never really know on that stuff. I laugh every time I see a pull test, because I'm like, that shingle's already damaged and you haven't even started tugging yet. But so some of that stuff is ridiculous. But when you've got it in the hands of salespeople will say what they want to say to sell stuff. And if they, if this is what the expectation is, but if they're not held accountable to it, like, we're all being held accountable to a different level than we were, 20 years ago.
What was the hardest manufacturer to sell against? Is it Malarkey? Is it like as far as like roofers goes, like, who would you lose customers to, or who would like be the most argumentative?
So in my market in Minnesota was absolutely Owens Corning. Yeah, they were the hardest to compete against. But I'm telling you, even more than that, it's the people. You compete against people. Atlas had a guy and he was only maybe 5-6 years. The dude,
Is it Nick?
Nick.
Yeah, bald guy. He was my rep.
Oh my gosh, that guy was good.
He was good.
I mean,
He was my rep. I sold Atlas for 2 years.
yeah. I mean, in to the point where we needed we had a shake up and whatever. We needed a guy. I called Nick, like, you ready to go? And he's like, I know, never going back to roofing industry again, but the best manufacturer rep I've ever seen.
He was good.
He was really, really good. And so I think that's really what it is. You know, you see these people. I'm going to tell you this other really starts. It was literally my first national sales meeting at GAF, and I had a rep come up to me and say, Mike, this is how you make it. This is how you're successful at GAF. You're going to get a plan. You're going to meet that plan, and maybe 2 or 5% higher than the plan. That's kind of your goal. Don't be blowing out your plan, because what happens is once you blow out your plan, then they just want a little bit more.
Expectation.
So he said, keep your head down. Just do what you're expected to do. Don't rise up.
What kind of plans do you have? Is it amount of contractors you sell to, or is it volume of shingles sell to?
We were judged on 3 different. I mean, there's 3 legs to the stool, right? And that's kind of how it's always proven. It's market share, sales volume, and contractor engagement. So yeah, so we were. You could do 2 out of 3. Sometimes you could do 1 out of 3. If you went 0 for 3, you better figure out what you're doing. Because you would be able to do a balance of it. And then your President's Club is kind of the award where you get when you hit all 3 to a level that nobody else in your entire area is. So that was kind of what you really was hoping to get.
I want to ask something very controversial probably, but I know a lot of roofers will not even agree with it, but you mentioned Nick, who was the best sales rep, and I agree with it. One thing that Nick never did, I at least don't remember it. I don't think he took me for lunches. I don't think he bought me dinners or drinks or anything like that, but he was amazing what he does, right? And I see this game in the roofing industry where manufacturers and suppliers, they wine you and dine you. It's, if you go to conferences, it's always like restaurant, 20, 30 grand on drinks. Let's get this roofers drunk. And I absolutely hate it over the years. I remember being at the OC, I would go to a Rodney Webb event, and I wanted to talk to, there's like 5, 6 OC people, and all of them are freaking drunk. And I'm like, can I get a return? Like, I want to do some business with you. I want to review, whatever, interview, podcast. Or never could get a response. Never later email me, wherever. Imagine this, you going as a contractor to get better, to make connections, and the very person, the very rep you're trying to make a connection, pretty much out of it.
Yeah.
And it's became a strategy. Do you see it? Do you see it as not a problem? What's your take on it?
No, I mean, I think so I do kind of run in a different, because I'm not a big drinker, and it is amazing though what you'll learn when you hang out with people as they start drinking. So yeah, it's when people say, but I was told for many years that it was holding me back because I wouldn't go out drinking with the guys, and if you really want to be connected and make those relationships, you have to drink with them.
Do you agree with that?
What's that?
Because I hear that all the time, and that's a strategy for so many, but do you agree with it?
I mean, it was 13 years before I got a promotion, or 12 years before I got promoted at GF. So I know maybe it held me back, but I don't regret it. I mean, that's not my thing. But I don't see it as much as I used to. Let's put it that way. I do think the roofing industry has evolved. It has matured. I think the roofing owners and contractors, really decision makers, are much more strategic about it. I don't think they drink it. I don't see it as much as I used to.
No, as a trend, I do. We became more vocal. I see more and more people calling out, because we have a big problem. Drugs, alcohol, I mean, people literally die.
Yeah.
Obesity, it's a big problem. And I look at the suppliers and manufacturers as leaders. And if we contribute to the problem, we should be solving. And I see, people like Paul Reed, Roofers in Recovery. There's more and more people who are vocal about going sober, fit, better lifestyle, better choices. And it's very hard to compete on this message if you're still doing party like animal. Like you can't sit on both. Like it's a delicate balance. And if you see the person who's struggling and you just contribute into it, like you tell me you want my business to be good, and then now you got me drunk, so tomorrow I'm, hangover. Like it does.
So you were part of the APA when it first started,
Yep.
right? And their summit was just last week, and somebody that was outside of the industry but in the storm restoration, they were more of the water damage and remediation part of it, and said, can you help me understand? Sometimes you call yourself contractors, and sometimes it's just roofers. Like, why is there a difference? And Caden was there, and he gave his answer, and I really appreciated it. In that, roofing is very unique of a business because it's big enough, but it's also specialized enough. Like you could just be a roofer, and it's a massive. Like there's not a lot of flooring guys. You would almost have to be flooring and tile. Painting is a pretty big enough industry. So the roofing is really highly specialized. But the thing that I think is that very low barrier to entry. You really don't even need a ladder anymore, and lots of money in it. And so when you combine those two things, how do you not just attract an audience that can get? I mean, when you walk off a job and you just made $20,000 in a day and a half. I mean, drugs and alcohol have been a part of this industry for
a long time.
A long, long time. And I think the industry, though, has attracted a more sophisticated audience at this point now. And I think it's kind of going away.
I see a lot of newer guys. Educated. I see lawyers coming in.
The accountants that start a business. I'm like, oh my gosh, look out. They're going to go. Yep. Aaron Bible, you interviewed him. He's an accountant. Dude, in like 3 years, one of the biggest roofing companies in the country. He's an accountant.
Exactly. That's why. Best roofing markets, in your opinion?
Oh, Minnesota, for sure. Not even close.
Give me top 5.
Top 5. I love Minnesota. Colorado, I always kind of think is like Minnesota light, although they went through a stretch that was really tough because they get hailed on a lot. Once you start getting out east, I think there's a lot of really, really good markets to be successful at. And I'm gauging this not just on storms. It's not just that market. It's just a fun place to be where you make good money. You get a good balance of storm and retail. Would hate to go to Florida. Would hate to be in Texas. I don't know how y'all do it in those markets. It's just a different culture down there, and I don't think I'd want to have anything to do with it. Wouldn't want to do anything in California, but any place in the Midwest. Omaha is sneaky good. Mm-hmm. What a great little market. Des Moines area, yeah. As you get out east, Columbus, fantastic place. The culture of contractors in Columbus is really, really sneaky good too. Like when you get these markets where they start collaborating instead of competing, it changes the entire market. And you just watch. I think Columbus and some of those Ohio areas, you're going to see them start reaping the benefits of competing at a high level, and you're going to see those prices continue to rise because they are selling the right way, value, doing the right things for the right reasons. I think you're going to see Ohio become a tremendous market that's going to compete with the Minnesotas and the Colorados of the world.
What's your take on rejuvenation and rejuvenation cleaning products? I see a lot of companies charging to remove algae. Like some of it is chemicals, just bleach. It does work. It cleans the roof for a couple more years, and some of it is full-blown rejuvenation.
Yeah, at Roofle, we're seeing more and more roof rejuvenation being offered online through their websites, and really getting to know Mike Fiesel a little bit through that. He's brilliant, guys. I love it. And I think manufacturers were a little bit leery of it and probably scared of it to the point where they just don't want the legal liability of somebody messing with the composition of their shingles. But I think it's proven to be great, and especially as you start looking at how to use it as a repair mechanism. We're going to rejuvenate them first, then we're going to make these repairs, and then you're going to be good to go. I think you're going to see that become more and more popular, not less.
Do we have too many roofers now?
Oh, for sure.
We do?
Again, that's not my opinion. I think that's what, that's where the industry is going. Yeah, there's going to be less roofers. They're going to be bigger roofers. You know, our passion at Roofle, for example, is we want to make sure to empower every local contractor. I don't care what size they are. We've helped guys that are 12 days old be able to compete in that virtual space. Because if you're going to refuse to do it, those are the guys that are probably, I mean, I would love to start talking about who owns leads. Like that is going to be, if you are a roofing contractor today, you need to know where your lead sources are going to be, not just today, but 2, 3, 5 years from now. Because if that lead source is leaving your website or leaving your back door, you risk becoming a labor house. That's where you're going to see the hockey stick of, here's where the industry is today, here's where it is. Why do you think manufacturers and distributors are trying to capture that lead? That's a pretty kind of a big deal. Yeah, I think they're going to be, more and more private equity. They're going to be bigger companies, less number of companies, and, natural attrition that happens because, it's like any other business. 3 years, you're probably done. 76%, I think, is now. Over 90% never make it to 10 years.
Perfect or best size of the roofing business these days, in your opinion? You've seen so many.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm going to go back to the personality of the business owner. Sure. You can have you can have a great company at $2 to $3 million. You can have a great $1.5 million company, one person, one man show. You're gonna have freedom to be home, raise a family. It's a fantastic living. Personalities, but I mean, you are going to have people all over the board. It's the people who want to grow for growth's sake that typically get into trouble. So, I think that's an impossible question to answer.
But what's your favorite, like, as you travel, visited companies, what are your favorite size, like, clients, I guess? Obviously, it's probably bigger companies, but, like, is it middle startups? Like, who is more needy? Who is more...
Oh, I loved hanging out with the new guys. I mean, I loved hanging out with you when it was 2013, and you're just kind of figuring out your identity and how you wanted to do what you do. Those are my favorite people. The times that
they have the most passion.
They have the most passion. They
actually learn.
They will learn. Yep.
New guys, they don't know it all. It's the guys who've been in business for 5 years. They figure it out. And
yeah. It is. Yeah. So I don't. When you just sit down with the big guys and talk, like I like learning from them and hearing what's coming, but it's the new guys, the hungry guys, the ones that are just sponges for information. I love hanging out with them.
Love it. If you would start a business today, retail or insurance business model?
I would have to say probably put a lot of my effort into retail because nobody's paying attention to it. I think there's way more opportunity there. And also because I know storms so well, that's just easy stuff. I don't, when the storm comes, then shift gears. But I would build the company to handle retail for sure.
Repairs or full replacements?
I think that's one of the other big evolutions you're going to see. I think the repair is coming back. And I'm in full support of it. So I've been kind of part of this replacement, not repair group because I know how to do that. Like I know code and manufacturer specifications. I will turn anything into everything. So I was I'll tell you this story because I was on an appraisal. The appraisal was for, as I learned, I didn't ask ahead of time. I just show up. There was 2 missing shingles and a dented vent. And the appraisal was for full re-roof, full siding, soffit, gutters, fascia. And in that moment, I thought, this is what I created. Because I'll get you there. With code compliance alone, I will get you there. I will get you full roof, siding, soffit, fascia, just based on code. But it gets to a point where you have to sit and go,
is it reasonable? Is it fair?
But does that matter, right? Because what I've always been taught is it's black and white. I mean, either it is code compliant or it's not. Until you get into this area of, is it? What do they have? The they have an entire group of code officials that get together and they talk about these things. So I was actually part of the code group in Minnesota when we came out with a 2020 version of code, which is an amended 2018. And we went through for like 6 or 8 weeks and went through every single line in code in all chapters. And you hear some of the people that come in that want the code to change, like the fire departments, the fire industry, because they want to have sprinkler systems in every home. Why? Because it will save lives. It literally will save lives. But you look at how much money that costs to do that, it's never made it into code. Then so think about this though, because you're actually talking about minimum code compliance and what's the price of a life? Is it? Yeah, but you're adding $15,000 to every home. So there is actually things that when it comes to code compliance, they have to weigh these out. It's uniformity. They're talking about uniformity. So would it be a uniformity issue to say 2 shingles and a dented vent is the entire wrap? Now, again, insurance company aside, I'm talking about code. So you're telling me as a retail guy that you would do that. You would come in and say, I'm so sorry. You have 2 missing shingles. I'm going to have to reside your house. It only happens in insurance. So now, that's off the charts, right? That's way over here. But yes, I think the code compliant repair will be coming back, and I think you're going to see more and more of it. And if you're going to refuse to do it, again, you're going to be out of work.
One of the hot conversations we have on this channel this week is door knocking, and specifically door knocking doors with no soliciting sign. What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't really care for the drama, but I do see that, we make fun of the Jehovah's Witness and, the religious groups that come door knocking. Now I'm one of them. I love them. When they come to my door and knock, I'm like, I had spent like 6 or 8 weeks. Every Thursday I sat down with a Mormon, just because I loved sitting talking to him. I mean, he's a sales guy just like me, and I really enjoyed that. But people don't anymore. And a third of the homeowners right now are millennial, and they don't like people. They don't want you into their home. So you are going to see that, the door knocking. I don't think people are going to stop doing it. I don't think roofing companies are going to stop doing it, but that's going to continue to. But they're not going to let you do it.
What I see is people put signs, and like in the groups, what I'm talking about on Facebook, the most popular comments like, gotta knock that. So people literally put first objection was, well, you don't know who put not soliciting sign, or like the floor mat, I'm confused, welcome, or right, that. But now people printing piece of paper saying, roofers do not knock, wherever, and they still do it.
Well, this might not be a popular opinion, but it's still a cultural thing. And some people put it out just to put it out. Okay, so I'm going to tell you another story. So I was in Israel a few years ago, and you go downtown, or like in the old city of Jerusalem, and you've got a no parking sign sitting right there, surrounded by what? Cars. The cultures are the culture of, and it can be as small as a community. Culture is going to determine what people feel about no soliciting signs. You are going to be at places that they're going to have a no soliciting. You don't know why it's there. If I'm passionate about what I'm doing and I know it's no soliciting, I'm still going to ask. And if they're going to say no soliciting, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. But there are cultures out there that it's a suggestion. It's a good idea. Please don't solicit. But we had a hailstorm. You might have damage to your roof. Oh, well, I didn't know that. I just didn't want somebody selling me knives or telling me about Jesus,
I see.
Like, it's a cultural thing, and yeah, some people are going to do it, some people are not. I don't care.
But the same thing with the do not call list. People are getting so annoyed by, I hate cold calls because you get so many. Like my guy Igor here, he's buying a house in Florida now, and every 10 minutes I mean, like every 10 minutes he gets like 50 freaking phone calls from underwriters.
Yeah.
Because his phone got in the system, right? His number, and he's like, I hate these calls. So the moment you share, like now people know you in the market. I mean, it's annoying.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
annoying to have 20 door knockers in a day.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Are you gonna legislate all of it though? I mean, that's the tension that's between that.
But
So
they're doing it in Florida now. So they passed a law in Florida, and there's a permits like door knock, but like follow the basic rules. Get a permit, get something. What's your take on that?
yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's like, I know a lot of roofers. I don't want them my house necessarily. Well, but yeah, I mean, be safe about it and make sure if you need a permit, follow the rules, right? Follow the rules. I'm typically, generally speaking, a rule follower.
What's your opinion on a situation in Florida between who ruined the market, roofing companies and lawyers or insurance companies?
Oh man, it's such a mess. And I can see both sides of all of it. What you got to go to is think a couple steps ahead and how are they going to solve it? And just something as easy as or quick as if an attorney sues an insurance company for a claim and loses, does the insurance company still pay the legal fees? That's a big question. And because that question there was yes for so many years, I don't know if they changed it now, like it was bankrupting insurance companies because, and creating this massive influx in attorneys that were good at reading what permits were pulled because they knew if there was a permit pulled and if it had anything to do with insurance, they could call them up, cold call them, sue the insurance company, win or lose, they were getting paid. You got to fix that, right? So, but here's what we really care about, right? Is there going to be a direct repair? Is there going to be managed repair getting so big? Our insurance company is going to start doing, invoking their right to repair, which is going to significantly impact the industry. And if that becomes the answer, you'll know it soon enough.
What's your opinion on the class action lawsuits? Like in the shingle?
Man. Yeah. So you'll probably disagree with me on this. Anybody who wants to can sue
Anyone can sue anyone.
Yep. Anybody can sue anybody. And as long as you get enough people involved, like from different states, like that's what it is. So, right. And it doesn't take much, right? So if you have an issue, we'll talk about the one that we did with, I don't know, we went through like 2013, 2015, something like that. It was cracked shingles, right? And it was a Mobile, Alabama plant. And one of the guys, a manufacturer would, in that situation, probably try to do the right thing. Like, oh yeah, those are cracked and it's only a couple years old. We need to fix that. And they did, except one of them was a lawyer. And he's like, I'm willing to bet I could get some money out of this. And so calls around, finds enough people in other plants to get it. And if you look at, I know we had people asking about crack. Yeah, do you have cracked shingles? No, we don't. All right. Well, then you're not part of class action lawsuits. It's tough because the bigger the corporation, the bigger the target. And just because you were named in a class action lawsuit, suddenly everybody assumes there's this massive problem and a huge cover up because that's what class action lawsuits mean. And it's not always the case. So you got to be careful on that stuff.
But it's also how many people will actually join it. Like problem could be bigger, but if you have 5, 7 people,
right.
Because it's hard to get 50 people involved, 100 people involved.
Yeah, and in our case, and we had to live with this because it's a marketing thing too, right? Because all of a sudden, when this all got disclosed and class action lawsuit, I was getting calls from contractors going, listen, go out, you can contact all your customers if you want. That's what the lawsuit actually says. If you have this problem, we're going to enhance your warranty, treat it basically like but nobody found any. Why? Because it was a rarity, but yes, it was classified as a class action lawsuit, and we had to go through the processes. So it is what it. I am with you. If manufacturers do the right thing, do it for the right reasons, you're still going to get sued. It doesn't really matter. So
still going to get sued. Home Depot versus ABC Supply. For years, I have heard that many roofers still believe that quality of the shingles at Home Depot is lower, or Menards or Lowe's, lower than quality of the shingles at ABC. I know it's not true because a lot of times Home Depot will buy, you can buy from Home Depot, but it'll be delivered from ABC. And I never could understand the logistics. Talk to me about contractors' options.
Yeah, so they're both they're just both logistic companies, right? And they treat their inventory differently. So they're coming from the same plant, they're being in the same place. But the difference is though is how do they do their inventory management? So typically your supply houses are turning theirs as regularly as they can. But when you're Home Depot or a box store, you know, a majority of their customers are homeowners. And so your homeowner demand is really hard to guess what that's going to be, where typically your one-step distributors kind of know their customer source, and they will stock their inventory based on those numbers.
How much shingles does Home Depot sell?
Tons. Nationally. But if you're talking about the Brooklyn Park one right now, I think the average ticket is it was less than a pallet.
Why do you think roofers don't buy more from Home Depot?
Oh, it's a pain in the butt. It really is. Because I did, right? So I did for a couple of years, and this was when the beginning wars started between the box stores and the distributors, and this was like 2002, 2003. You could get shingles a lot cheaper, and so I did. I had a dump trailer, I had my trucks, I had everything. I started doing it. I did it for like 3-4 jobs. It was such a pain in the butt because I don't have the time of day to do that. And again, you're.
But they did get better. They even have boom trucks. They even have deliveries, but somewhat.
You know, there was one store here that did, and they actually ran a few different trucks. But it's hard. It's hard to maintain the trucks. It's hard to maintain the quality. You know, every single day. We are. Have you ever toured the ABC in Savage? Mm-hmm. It's a machine. Like the way that everything. We talked about McDonald's, you know, and the efficiencies and the stuff, and the way that's what that kind of became, and the volume that they were able to push out of there. But so the whole point is though, their inventory was always rotating. It was always fresh, and you just never really know out of box stores how long it's been sitting on that shelf or in there.
There's no problem with lots.
No, it's not. But the thing is, the older they get. Mm-hmm. Right, so I had some pre-merger. So I'm a pack rat. I'm a total hoarder. It's horrible. So I had some pre-merger stuff, GAF stuff from 2007, 2006 that I installed like 5 years ago. I had it that long, and I put it on a little shed, and it looked horrible. Like it had been sitting there for 15 years, whatever it was, in my backyard, and so I put it on. But here's the thing: it was just horribly. Oil stained. And so a few rains and probably a year later, all the stains were gone. So you want to rotate stock to keep them fresh, because the longer they're sitting there and in the temperatures and all that kind of stuff, that's when things start getting pretty gnarly. That's when your streaks show up when you're installing them. Because
why ABC Supply cannot match Home Depot's price? Why? I've heard that Home Depot loses money when they sell it.
They do. Seriously. You'd be surprised. Most people. So because if you look at the price that's on there, you're like, oh, Home Depot must sell a ton of shingles or buy a ton of shingles to get this price, and ABC can't compete with that. That's not the case at all. Home Depot actually pays.
Why do
more.
They do it?
Well, it's like
loss leader.
Loss leader, yeah. That's again. I didn't call on the box store, so I don't know that world the way I do one step. But yeah, I mean, you go to the grocery store and you've got Coke sitting right front and center, and you know that every case that they're selling, they're losing money on.
Really?
Yeah. And then the next week it'll be Pepsi, and then the next. I mean, it's one of those items that you get people in the store with that, and then they're selling the stuff that they actually make money on. That's the explanation I've been told. So,
what's your take on lifetime warranties these days? We talk about
20. Okay. You and I disagree with this one a lot. I have no problem with a 50-year warranty, because you take 50 times 12, it's 600, and then you take the number of the age of how long that roof has been on that, the shingles have been on that roof. You subtract that, and that's what the homeowner gets in the case of a manufacturing defect. And it depends on how you define manufacturing defects. So if you got, one of the that explain it as a performance-based warranty, then it's just simple math, and it's based on 600 months. If you want to take that down to 30, that's fine, but all you're doing is ripping off the homeowner, or you're taking money out of the homeowner's pocket. Lifetime is a different thing. To call it lifetime but not explain what lifetime is a sales gimmick, and it's a little bit shameful, in my opinion. Because what lifetime means, it never doesn't mean that you have a full warranty. It just means that warranty is never worth zero. So as soon as they said lifetime, they gave value to the warranty after 50 years to a shingle that was never going to make 50 years. So lifetime is a little bit different. But again, to this day, I'm a big enhanced warranty guy. I want a System Plus or a Platinum Preferred warranty on, or the 3-star, whatever. I don't know that you can go back and forth on the workmanship parts of that. That really depends on the contractor. But as far as the product warranties, the 50-year non-prorated stuff, contractors are foolish not to be spending that $70 to help to protect their homeowners, because there's such a big difference in value if the homeowner needs something done with their roof and it's didn't make it 50 years. So I know you hate the 50-year thing, but I think
it's misleading. I mean, it's
lifetime is
50 years.
50 is just a number.
It's I believe in reasonable expectations. If average roof lasts 20, 25 years, that's what we should be telling the homeowner. You can expect 20 years out of this product.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So like that's my thing.
Yeah.
But when everybody goes in, it's like, oh, this is 50-year shingle. Because now the language changes. 50-year shingle, 50-year shingle, 50-year. No, it's 20-year shingle with the 50-year paperwork.
Yeah.
Big difference. I want shingle warranties to be as close to car warranties. Like cars have done amazing job because it's reasonable. When you buy a Toyota and it has 100,000 miles, like think about this. Like you can get 200,000 miles, and it used to be 60. Now it's the cars improved, like technology improved, and it's reasonable. You know that if you like, it's 5 years or 100,000 miles. And I know, like I drive brand new cars. If anything happens to my car within 3 years, I throw a key at the dealer and I know I'm taken care of. That's why I love brand new cars.
So this is where you and I are going to disagree, you as a marketer and me as a salesperson, because you see this and go, that's misleading. You can't market it this way.
It is misleading.
Well, but I'm the other way around, because when I'm going into the home and selling, and this is what I did. This is why I started selling myself out to this stuff, because it was so important. I would spend so much time on the product and the warranty when I was in front of the homeowner, and I would talk very specifically about what lifetime means and what my 50-year non-prorated means. And I said, and then the homeowner, and again, I'm not a one-stop close guy. And so I knew they were going to get other estimates. And so I said, listen, I want you to ask, first thing, am I going to get a lifetime warranty with my shingles? And the contractor every time would go, yep, we only install the best. And the homeowner said, thank you very much. Why? Because they knew what lifetime meant. So as a salesperson, I was able to educate that homeowner on what it meant, and I won the sales. Again, I get it. I totally understand what you're saying with the lifetime stuff. 50 to me is just a number at which they multiply by 12 and subtract by the number of years that the shingle is on the roof. I want that number to be as big as possible so that the homeowner pays as little as possible when it's time to replace the roof.
Got it. We're almost done. I actually have to take you to the airport. Really quick. Have you watched VanBoxel interview on our channel? The guy from who sells underlayment. What's your take on it? Like briefly, selling direct when roofers buy underlayments and stuff like that.
I have not. But I did want to, and I just haven't taken the time to do it. But yeah, I think when it comes to distribution, again, you can mark names and say that company is that, and that company is that, and they're crooks or they're greedy or they're that. Companies are who their people are, and the distributors and the manufacturer reps that I know and I love their customers, and they do the best they can for their customers. And what you don't see is the amount of money it takes to actually do that job. So I would never want to be a branch manager of a distribution house because I know the margins look fat over here. It's just like a contractor. The margins look fat over here. And at the end of the month, you're like, where'd all the money go? And it's stuff like the carrying costs and the turn rate and like all of this stuff that you have to manage in order to be successful. And yeah, a smaller guy that's just doing a few items or being smaller probably is doing pretty, just like a $1 million roofing company that's doing all its own work. Yeah, their margins are going to, they're like, dude, there's all kinds of money in this. But then as soon as you start actually having to work with a larger subset, it's
my answer
tougher.
to one of the reasons this, like branding, marketing, is perception. But one of the reasons perception exists is because those people don't talk. For me, I'm a big believer of internet and in general, and also transparency. Like, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, those people, like very controversial CEOs, right? Zuckerberg, like those people, like when they get criticized, they make public statements. One of the biggest problems in the roofing industry, you cannot get anyone to talk. Like if what you say is true, why, those managers, CEOs, why don't they explain themselves? Because I want to believe, I want to have a conversation about it, right? But everybody's lawyered up. Nobody can make a statement. Nobody wants to explain. And that's where it's coming from. I have a contractor right now. So someone came to my show and it's a big, the guy went to jail. He lost his company. Someone else shared the story. The guy is suing him now and he's asking me to take the video down. I said, let's talk about it. Share your story. I'll air it just like other guy. He's like, nope, I can't do it. I'm like, so you want me to delete his side of the story? You're not willing to come up with your side of the story, and you want me to believe you. It doesn't work like that. It's a two-way street. Like anybody can come after me right now and say, Dmitry is this, this, and this. And the best thing I can do is to answer it versus being mad or being offensive about it. I mean, that's my answer. You have 3 suppliers, you have 8 manufacturers, and no one's talking about anything.
Yeah, so I actually posted something that I think goes to this.
This is, by the way, great. I appreciate this feedback.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it says, so I wrote like a week or two ago, you're not responsible for the words that you say. You're responsible for the words your audience think you said. Now, on one hand, it's impossible, right? Because you cannot control the mind of somebody, and especially when they're seeing it through their lens and their experiences and what they know. But at the same time, you have to be very, very, very careful. If you are a communicator, you have to be careful about what you say and how you say it, because it will be taken out of context and it can spin out of control very quickly. And it does become a legal issue. So I think there's a general fear to transparency. Absolutely. If you think about one of my favorite ones, and this is what I do love getting into politics, and I love getting into theology. Love getting a lot of topics. But something that made Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on,
Sure.
They were such effective communicators. And then you get to George Bush, right? And the guy just looked like an idiot when he talked. But if you talk to him, like most people that I know that know him or have met him, say he's one of the most brilliant people they've ever known. He's a brilliant mind. The problem was he was having such a hard time. He was so calculated when he talked. And he really wasn't very good at it. And so it came off very differently. I think generally there is a fear of everything from, you scare people. I'm just telling you.
100%.
You scare people.
I agree with.
Social media scares people. Publicity. When I first came to GAF, we were not allowed to have a Facebook account.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a few years later, we got somebody in that like, we have to have a presence. Like, that's what evolution does. I think you are going to see more transparency because the market demands it. Right now, like, the market is not demanding it to where you don't have to compete on.
And that's what
your
I love.
words.
That's what I love about Roofing Insights. We kind of create this, as a media company, we create this little pressure, You know, not many people are willing to talk about it. Like I feel like I speak what a lot of people think about, but afraid to say out loud. And I'm that voice. I'm just voicing it. And even with the Boxel, like it's his interview. Like it's not my opinion. It's me asking questions. He spoke, like I aired it. But I would air anyone else, like Dan Tinker spoke, you know, we aired it and it went great. It's actually a great perspective, right? And I feel like that's my niche, that's my role, and that's what I want to do.
Well, but and I've talked to you about that very first time you ever did that video, and I walked in here. I say you're putting a lot more opinion in this than you think you are, and I think that's one of the things that gets you in trouble. Is you do like to be telling the news and let people know you've got a lot of transparency to yourself, but you put in a lot more opinion into stuff than I think you realize.
And I'm changing too. Like, you know, I used to do it way more. Now it's, if you watch my news, if you watch my stories, like I'm getting better at this game too. I'm learning rules too, and I'm becoming not politically correct, but I'm learning how to tell. Like just like roofer business owners, we get better at our trade. This is my new trade. And if you compare videos I make now versus what I did 6-7 years, a huge difference.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
And even now versus a year ago, huge difference. And I do stuff now way different. And when it comes to opinion, the same thing. I do have opinion, but now I less and less share it. Like that's why I have a script writer. As a matter of fact, many of the stories that I do now, she writes them without any direction from me. I just tell her, hey, we're doing this story on this topic. Go research it. She does it. She literally puts words in my mouth, and I don't give her directions. And now, like all my news, script writer, literally like teleprompter, and I share them. I mean, I'll share like few comments. I'll do a little bit of reaction of Dimitri, and I think my audience love it. I built my brand around it too. But I'm also getting better and better at this.
It was such a privilege to meet her before we started here because I have seen her content. Like, dang, she's really good.
Yeah,
she's really good.
Yeah.
So keep surrounding yourself with good people, and you know, it just you. Just
and that's what we do now. I don't spend like people think that I spend like 10 hours a week like on content filming. My team actually searches for content videos. I'll come and sit in a chair, and I'll react to 20 videos. They will search for them. They will download it, put the cameras. I just come in. Like if you see any of my reaction videos, I don't even watch them. I watch them as I react to them when I film them. So it's 20-30 minutes of my time, and then you'll see 10 videos of Dmitry reacting to stuff. But this is all my team.
Nice. Well, you know, the life of an influencer. I'm more of an unfluencer. I spend like 10 minutes a day, so that's about all I have in me. And then I get my tens of views, and then I'm happy. I'm like, dude, I did what I needed to today.
Love it. This was a fire. Guys, comment below what you think. If you have any questions, let's continue these conversations in comments. I love, like for me, good YouTube video lives in comments. If I see good content, I always go in comments and I either laugh more or I read, I'm always curious what people really think about it. So give it a like if you like this kind of interviews. Comment below, and me and Mike, I'm pretty sure will be reading and answering those comments as well. Let me take you to the airport, and thank you guys for watching.
Thanks. I appreciate it.